Hi, my name is Jackie and I have been involved with the Leader Impact Group for quite a few years now, which is run for business people to help them grow personally, spiritually and professionally. As a professional myself, in-house legal advisor at Old Mutual, working there for just over 15 years, I've learned and experienced firsthand the value these kind of engagements can have for you personally. Today I'm delighted to interview Derrick Msibi, a friend of Leader Impact. Derrick has been the CEO of STANLIB for close to 5 years. He's a business leader with a long track record of excellence in driving strategy and transformation within blue chip financial services institutions, and enjoys a place of prominence in South Africa's financial services arena. Derrick is a keen runner and has completed 30 ultra marathons plus over 40 standard marathons. Derrick loves jazz and is a supporter of the Orlando Pirates and Arsenal Football Club. Welcome, Derrick, and thanks for joining us today. So let's jump right into our questions for you. How does stewardship and servicing others work in the financial services industry?
Well, we have to start with the definition of what a steward is. And a steward is someone who is entrusted by someone else with resources to perform a clearly defined task on behalf of that individual or organization. So the steward is there to serve the interests of whoever has appointed him to look after those resources. And for us in the financial sector, we've got a number of people who entrust us with their resources. We've got our own staff who entrust us with their talent. Sure, we pay them a salary at the end of each month, but they still entrust their careers and their talent to us. We have customers who give us their money to invest on their behalf with an expectation that we'll give that money back to them when they need it, and with the returns that they expect out of what we've promised. And then thirdly, we have regulators and society at large who give us the permission to operate in the country with the view that we will do no harm in that environment. So as stewards, we are very much in the middle of serving clearly defined constituencies with clearly defined outcomes.
Thanks for defining what stewardship within the context of your work environment means. So what would you say stewardship and serving others look like?
Well, first of all, when you're serving others, your mindset is very much defined by the purpose of why you exist. So you are very clear on why you are doing certain things, one, and then second, who are you doing it for? In that you have people that you are primarily responsible for, and you're very much focused on delivering what they expect out of you, or for that matter, what you have promised to them. And so for us, for instance, as a leader in the company that I serve, we've got people that we promise on how we're going to look after their money. We have people that we promise on how their talent is going to be grown in our company as staff. We've got a promise to our customers about how we will treat them. And then we've got a promise to the society at large around what is our role, how we're going to fulfill that role. And at the end of each year, we produce a report which we call a stewardship report, which is publicly available, which talks about how well we've done or how poorly we've done in terms of our stewardship role. So really stewardship, if you ask me what does it look like, it's got very clearly defined goals, it's got clearly defined stakeholders and people that you're accountable for, and then thirdly, it's got clear ways of accountability that people can have a look at whether you're fulfilling your role as a steward or not.
Thanks. That does give us some clarity as to what stewardship looks like. How does the idea of stewardship relate to the idea of purpose for companies?
Purpose is really the reason why entities exist and why they do what they do. And this is a very important development, particularly in light of what we've lived through in the last 18 to 24 months. In that all of companies, anybody who's been acting as a steward or looking after someone's resources, they've had to be clear on why they are doing that and what are the outcomes or the impacts that they expect to have on behalf of those people, which really brings the idea of purpose and stewardship very, very close to each other. If you think about what we've learned in COVID-19, we have learned that actually there are 3 or 4 very important people that we should look after, or constituencies we should look after. We should look after our people, particularly for those of us in companies first. We should look after our customers. We should look after society. And then if we do all of that, the shareholders actually going to be looked after. So the purpose of companies basically has become a lot wider. It's no longer focused on one constituency, but on multiple constituencies. And so our stewardship role now is not just looking after resources or talent on behalf of only a small constituency. The constituency is a lot wider than what we have used to in the past.
That's great. As the author Simon Sinek in his book on how great leaders inspire says, we need to start with why. The why, or differently put, our sense of purpose, is so important to keep in mind, especially in these challenging times we find ourselves in. What has been a driving force for stewardship for you?
Everything that we do as human beings is driven by some foundational belief. That belief could be your faith, it could be how you were brought up, but there is some anchor that enables you to build your beliefs onto why you do certain things. And so for those of us who come from a Judeo-Christian background, our faith is an important foundation of why stewardship actually matters to us. Certainly for myself, I see myself as having been placed in the role that I'm playing to fulfill a particular purpose. And that purpose is to lead with integrity, is to look after the resources that have been entrusted upon me. And those resources are the talented people that choose to work for us, the customers that choose to invest with us, the society that gives us permission to operate and do no harm, and then finally for those who have contributed money to invest in the company to get it to where it is today. And so I'm very much driven, my purpose is very much founded on the fact that I've got a faith, and the faith gives me the anchors, but not only the anchors, it also gives me the guardrails of what I consider to be acceptable and what I consider to be not acceptable. The idea of having moral boundaries is something that's very important to me, and I believe that is a foundation of what good stewardship is, understanding what is right and what is wrong, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. And often faith provides a very good guide on deciding on what is acceptable and what is not acceptable.
Thanks for sharing personally about how faith plays a key role in your leadership, helping you lead with integrity and moral boundaries. So, to my final question, how do you as an executive make stewardship real?
The life of an executive is one where you are constantly being seen and your staff actually observing every moment of what you are doing and copying what you're doing. And so for me, I first have a very keen awareness that my decisions, my actions are actually being watched, and therefore I need to be considered in what I do. That's the first one. This is that you need to be considered in what you do and be aware of how it ties back to what you have promised in terms of being a good steward. The second one is you've got to be accountable. You have to have a way of being measured, of people actually seeing that what you have promised and what you said you're going to do can be measured, and it can be viewed objectively of whether you are living up to that or not. And then thirdly, you have to have a degree of humility where you've fallen short and accept that you've fallen short and that you are working at how you're going to improve on that in terms of fulfilling your promise. To me, that's are the 3 foundational principles about how I get stewardship to be real for me as a leader.
Thank you, Derrick. Yes, as an executive, you are in the limelight and people are watching what you do. So being considered, accountable, and being humble are great key things to think about as guiding principles. It's so good to hear your thoughts on this whole subject and to draw from your wealth of experience. We really appreciate you joining us today and to explore what stewardship looks like in the financial services industry. That's where we conclude this interview. We have some great principles from Derrick to engage with in our leadership journeys, whether we are in finance or if we're in somewhat different industries. Thanks for joining us. We hope this has been a thought-provoking and helpful to you in your growth as leader.